Beautiful. Thank you, Harmony. Always appreciate your wonderful skills and presence. Okay, so my name is David Vu. My pronouns are he, him. I am a program officer here from Metro Washington, and I get to be wonderfully in charge of conducting the training, the support in match support. It's really going to revolve our fifth element in our elements of effective practices, or simply EEP, and that's monitoring and supporting. And again, this training will be recorded and shared out later on, and we'll have other resources and other good things for y'all to have for this training. Okay. So let's go ahead before we get into the meat of the content. I want to do a quick little intro, just a little bit about me. So I was a mentee or a little in Big Brothers Big Sisters in California, where I was born and raised. And I have thankfully stayed connected to my big brother to this day. And I can was definitely a part of that as well. But because of this mentorship and because of my big brother, impact and presence in my life, I have been really able to just move through life in a way where I felt present and support, and whereas I previously didn't have before my big brother. And because of that, I just really connected myself through youth work throughout my whole career. And most recently, my previous position was at a Big Brothers Big Sisters of Puget Sound in Washington State. That's where I got to be a match support specialist and more for a few years. So match support is essentially in my work DNA at this point, and it is something I thrive and just really advocates for as much as possible. Okay, so I just want to check in on all of y'all. I know we just chit-chatted a little bit, but I just want to do a quick, how are you? How are things? In the chat, that would be wonderful. And of course, you can do that verbally as well. How are you feeling? How are you? You're feeling like bleh, feeling tired, feeling motivated, feeling embarrassed, feeling great, of course. Thank you, Michelle. Dr. Michelle, actually. Yeah. Hello. Feeling really great. Ooh, I love that. Y'all have great energy. And if you're just feeling kind of like I'm too tired to even type, I totally get that. Honestly, overwhelmed, but yes, absolutely. Exceedingly grateful. That's good. Stressed and excited. Start of a new school year. Oh my gosh. Wild is an understatement for that. It must be overwhelming to some extent. Y'all are doing good. Great. And Renee, you just burnt toast for your lunch. Great. You say burnt, I say crispy. Absolutely. That's great. I'm glad that y'all are doing generally really well. That's awesome. And the day keeps getting better. Yes. And Jasmine, I will say, all of y'all being here, that definitely helps my day get a little better. So thank you for being here. Okay. So next up, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling? We're going to really have a measurable numeric value to it. And Matthew also mentioned they're little beats, but they're always happy to start the day with mentor. Oh, you're too sweet. So kind. On a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling? I'm feeling like a 7. Like I'm feeling good. I'm feeling motivated, but I'm also a little tired because my sleep schedule's been a little off, but I'm good. I'm excited. I'm here. See 7s, 8s. Some folks are 4. Yeah, valid. Absolutely valid. 6s and 7s, kind of mid-range at the moment. Absolutely. We're here. We're good. Great. 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh my gosh. Yes. Handful of people then. I don't assign numbers to feelings. Yes. Absolutely, Manette. I understand that. Yeah. Doesn't work for everyone. Michelle mentioned 6. Yes. Yes. Like feeling good, feeling all right. We're here, Absolutely. Great. That gives me a great general consensus. Uh, let's do an emoji this time. With an emoji, how are you feeling? Maybe numbers ain't your thing. Okay. Then maybe you can visually show it to us. And it could be like a taco, because maybe you're just craving tacos or something. Or maybe you're feeling like sunshine or rainbows. That's valid too. How are you feeling with an emoji? And I know I see like some folks over there who are grouped. If you can, You can just consolidate or just do a bunch of emojis. That works. I'm gonna say I'm feeling like sushi, which is awful. I don't want to say that out loud around my spouse because she'll be like, sushi? Feeling a little crazy, sparkly, yeah. Love, yes, lovely. Welcome to folks who are coming in late, by the way. Welcome, welcome. Yes. Oh my gosh, Renee, that crying emoji. What burnt toast really does things to you, huh? Feeling a little shaky, crazy, feeling good, happy. Right. And the eyes, I love that, Jasmine. Yes. Mind blown. Hot dog. Yeah, I'm feeling that. I could use some food too. Feeling a little slow. Right. Yes. Turtle slow. Yes, absolutely. So why all these questions? Right. And I see a dog as well. That's so adorable. Oh, absolutely. Okay, so I ask these questions because checking in can be more than just a how are yous. There's room for creativity, but also more engaging ways to connect to people, especially youth. Some folks were like, I don't want to do numbers. That might be not my thing, or it might be too difficult for you to think of a number for you, how you're feeling. That's valid. Maybe we'll do emojis as well. But for youth, I think emojis, even the emojis might be a little outdated. You can engage in memes, or maybe if they're musically talented or interest is just primarily music, maybe they're feeling like you can just check in. How are you feeling in terms of like Taylor Swift eras? Are you feeling fearless? Are you feeling like during your folklore era? Great. Love that. Perfect. There are ways to check in and engage with youth, of course, mentor and parents and guardians, but in a way where it can be creative and have fun with it all. Okay. So that's something I highly recommend. If there's going to be a handful of takeaways throughout the training, but I hope that's one of your takeaways. Have fun, be creative with your check-ins when possible, of course, and when appropriate. That's a big one. Great. All right. So y'all are doing good, generally speaking. Some of us are like, doing a little slow. Okay. But thank you for being here regardless. So let's go ahead and chat about the overview. What are the things we're going to be talking about? Absolutely. First thing, why does match support matter? There might be an immediate understanding like, yeah, of course, match support is important, but I want to get into some of the data, some of the like research shows why match support is matter and why it can be preventative of so many different things and why it can enhance outcomes for the youth as well. Okay. And of course, we're going to talk about the mentoring mindset, your specific role that might vary, of course, depending on all of our different types of roles. It could be consulting, it could be a coordinator, etc. Of course, we'll chat about rapport and why that's so important. And that will segue us into prevention. And we'll actually put some of these thoughts into practice with some common scenarios. And then, of course, we'll get into interventions, which can be like more, I won't say crisis level, but more heightened situations. And that will look like uncommon scenarios. And we'll engage in practice that as well. So I suspect the scenarios is where we spend the meat of our time, which is great. Practice is always great, especially in a safe space like this as well. And on top of check-ins, troubleshooting, and everything, we'll also chat about additional types of supports and what that can look like for your program and organization. Okay. Any thoughts, questions, or feelings before we just hop on in everything? Cool. Great. Phenomenal. Let's go ahead and move on. Why does match more matter? So first thing, let's chat about regular contact. What does regular contact mean, right? So typically speaking, to our EEP, elements of effective practice, or our standards and practices and guidelines, we expect regular contact for when a match is made after 2 weeks or so. There's that first check-in. How is the match doing? How is it? Is it doing great? Do you all need more activities or more motivation? How are things at that 2 week mark? And then from there, it's on a monthly basis. And typically for a lot of programs, that expands all the way to the annual mark and it tapers down to quarterly check-ins. That's how it usually is for most programs and organizations. And that is what we recommend as well. But that will fluctuate a little later on in a future edition. I don't want to tease too much about it, but contact also looks different for so many different programs and organizations. But when you have regular contact, the outcomes are longer and lasting and stronger mentoring relationships. When a match has regular and frequent, they typically last longer and they're stronger for it. And of course, with the check-ins, there's more frequent meetings between mentor and mentee. And if you're like me, you're like, how's that possible? That doesn't make sense immediately in my head. Like, yes, but also, what does that exactly mean? So in my previous role as a match support specialist, I noticed a pattern with a handful of mentors. When I reached out to them, hey, it's time for our check-ins, please have a call with me or schedule a call with me. They would typically wait to schedule with me because they want to do a hangout and meetings with their mentee before having a scheduled check-in. They're like, oh yeah, I have to catch up with my program coordinator or match support specialist. Let me go ahead and hang out with them. It serves as a nice reminder to, hey, hang out with your mentee. I know time slips between all of us, but there's our program commitment as well. Okay. And of course, this includes parents and guardian and family. So it also reminds the parent guardian, oh my gosh, we need to set something up between mentor and mentee as well. And of course, also having regular contact gives you the room and space to assess the mentoring relationship constantly for prevention and, if need be, prime or prepare for match closure. For example, if a if you didn't have regular check-ins, you might not have known that the mentor is planning to move out spontaneously and suddenly within the next month. Okay. But if we have regular check-ins, we can see that, oh, you are about to move next month. Let's get ready for that. Have proper match closure to reduce negative consequences from the match closure as much as possible. Okay. And of course, there's assessment and support. I kind of tease towards that. So when we're able to periodically assess, we can anticipate and prevent match closures. So when having regular contact, we can assess the situation beforehand and just support our matches and just mitigate issues as early as possible. And that will reduce match closures. Of course, that's great for numbers, but also we want to support our mentors, mentees, and families and guardians as much as possible. And of course, one of the biggest factors in match closure we found out through research was expectations of the match. For example, a parent's guardian's expectation of a program, hey, you're an after-school mentoring program. I expect that y'all are going to have some form of academic or tutoring help. Maybe your program doesn't do that at all, right? Having these check-ins and calls and match reports, it gives you an opportunity to realign those expectations. Hey, yeah, we can do homework help, but it's not the primary focus of our program. So maybe this is your opportunity to give them resources towards a free tutor or like a low-cost tutor. Great, okay. I also see another question. We're gonna hang tight for a little bit, Stephanie, but thank you for that. We'll go ahead and move on to activities. The outcomes of match activities. Perfect. So when you have a list of possible activities, including developmentally appropriate suggestions, the data shows that it's associated with longer match lengths. We have things to do. Great. So let's hang out more and engage and expand our repertoire of activities. And that can lead into greater match retention. And of course, hosted group activities can lead to enhancing the mentoring relationship, specifically when it also includes parents and guardians. That's a great space and opportunity for parents and guardians to be also hanging out with the mentor and mentee, see how they interact, give some gratitude. Oh my gosh, it's so nice to have you, the mentor here. The mentee has shown so many different signs of positivity, all of this growth, and it's all because of you. It gives them an opportunity to just share their gratitude, right? And just connect and then enhance the relationship with the mentor, but also with the staff, because some staffs are present for hosting group activities as well. Great. Okay. I see. So Stephanie asked, what do you think about doing the check-ins combined with a mentor and mentee, group text and email, or should they be done separately? So it can be done as a group check-in. It can be, especially when everyone's super, super busy. I totally get that. But typically, we encourage folks to do individual check-ins because mentor might have some topics and ideas that they might not want to share out loud with mentee in a group text or email. That can look like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm planning a surprise for mentee for their birthday. Or it could be more serious and be like, hey, I've noticed that mentee has been really struggling with hygiene. I don't know how to approach this. Help me out, please. Right. So it depends on the topics. But typically, if you can, within capacity in everyone's schedule, do it individually or separately as much as possible. And of course, someone mentioned check-ins with littles as safety. Absolutely. Absolutely. Any other thoughts, questions, feelings before we just keep on rolling? Okay. I'm noticing the time. We're going to speed through just a little bit, just a smidge. Great. So mentoring mindset from our becoming a better mentor, please have the mindset that is oriented towards thinking about and acting on what is best for you. But I'm going to go ahead and read the whole quote because I feel like that's super beneficial. The whole quote from becoming a better mentor is a mentoring mindset can strengthen your interactions and relationships because it is oriented towards thinking about and acting on what is best for you. It involves not only caring about individual young people you meet, but also contributing to the policies, practices, and contexts that allow young people to thrive wherever they live, work, play, and learn. So having that mindset is truly, truly essential. And be mindful of your role. Maybe you're a program coordinator. Maybe you're a match support specialist, a program manager. I want to remain in your role as much as possible because I understand how easy it is to slip into duties that are more of social worker, counselor, even like a therapist, just being like an ear for them constantly. Remember your role, documentation, think about what is success looks like for you in certain scenarios, check-ins, and working with your team as much as possible. Okay, we're gonna move on, trying to get through this, save everyone's time. So prevention, prevention, prevention. One of my favorite quotes is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of intervention. This is the quote unquote optimal way as much as possible in terms of match support, preventing things before they become serious and big crisis of situations and circumstances. Okay. And the first thing is build a bank of rapport. So one of the biggest lessons that I learned is when you're building a bank of rapport, you are able to make withdrawals of cash to burn for feedback later on. So when you give, and feedback can be, typically speaking, can be hard to receive. Now imagine yourself, you get feedback from a stranger, it can be hard to receive or be receptive towards that. But if you have some cash of rapport, you can relay the feedback in a way where it is um, engaging and open for everyone. Okay, so for example, let's give like a quick situation. Maybe a parent or guardians might have some feedback on how to react when a mentee has an outburst or behaves in a certain way. And then the staff member, whomever that is, can relay that feedback to mentors. And without rapport, folks are typically, and again, I mentioned, not receptive to feedback as needed. And of course, vice versa, maybe it's a situation with mentors. Mentors might have a specific worry about their mentee's hygiene, and they might be hesitant to talk to the guardian about it. With some cash of rapport, you can reach out to the guardian and ask about it. Hey, mentors mentioned this. You, please tell me about it. Is it because the mentee is literally just a teenager and they're just struggling to put on deodorant habitually? Or is it something more related to expenses and not being able to afford that? Having a rapport opens understanding the whole context and situation. Okay. And of course, context is important, and everyone has different perspectives and lived experiences. And this leads to our next points of the importance of ongoing trainings. And of course, that starts off with programmatic trainings, but when you can provide ongoing trainings based off of feedback from the volunteers' needs, maybe that's mental health supports, maybe it's how difficult conversations, maybe it's just general, hey, I want to become a better mentor. Absolutely. Great. Someone's mentioned, I always ask mentors if they feel comfortable talking to parent and guardian. If they don't feel confident, I offer to provide the feedback. Yeah, that's a start too. Absolutely. Absolutely. Having them connect. Absolutely. Perfect. And of course, keep up that mentoring mindset through all of this. What is best for youth? Of course, I'll reiterate that a little bit more later on. So let's chat about some common scenarios. We'll work on it together. So let's do the first one together. And I'll take charge of this one, and then the later scenarios will work together as a group. So to mentor's perspective, mentee seems disinterested in their hangouts, especially recently. How would you approach this? So I would reach out to, say, mom and just check in rapport with them after a while. I'll ask, hey, mentors mentioned this, mentee doesn't seem interested. Maybe the parent or mom might mention, oh, that specific day of hangout, they slept awful. Okay, great. Maybe they were just really extremely tired. Or it could be mentee doesn't like the activities that they're doing with the mentor. That's something that you can relay later on to the mentor and just, hey, this is the information, this is the context. It's you might be feeling that's disinterest, but it might just be the activities. It just might be their schedule. It might be something else. Having that context clears up so many different assumptions and presumptions, right? Okay, so let's start with the next one together. In their last hangouts, mentee used language that is not appropriate, potentially offensive or discriminatory. What would you suggest mentor to do? What are your thoughts on that? If their mentee was using not so fun language, very inappropriate, potentially offensive, what would you suggest mentor to do? Any thoughts on that? So first thing I would probably do is get more information first off. And of course, Renee mentioned discuss what language is appropriate at program, existing rules, yeah, policies and procedures, absolutely. I would get information, right? Age is a factor, yes, absolutely. Yeah. On top of that, if it was, say, like a young kiddo, oh my gosh, we can encourage mentor in a specific way to engage with the mentee, or you can have that conversation later on with mentee. Hey, I heard this, so it might be you might want to talk to parent guardian about it as well. Hey, I heard that they use this language. Oh, you might hear from the parents and guardian like, oh, they use that language because they learned from their best friend or something. Oh my gosh. Okay. Then we can troubleshoot and problem solve from that point on. Okay. For the sake of time, we're going to keep going. I don't want to dilly-dally too much. A young mentee is struggling to say goodbye or transition, leaving at the end of the hangouts. Mentor seems displeased with the struggle. What could we suggest to mentor? How else could we get some context? Or what ideas we can suggest to them? A young mentee struggling to say goodbye or transition, leaving at the end of the hangouts. The mentor seems displeased with the struggle. What could we suggest to mentor? So I think I would be curious to learn more about the situation. I would definitely reach out to parent and guardian and ask and get more context. Um, like, hey, what's going on? Like, I heard that mentee is just like really struggling to say goodbye, or like they seem really upset. And you might learn from the parent guardian, oh yeah, they just really love the mentor. They want to hang out forever and ever. And then you can start suggesting ideas that Christina has. Come up with a cool handshake or a way to make goodbye fun or less stressful. Yes. Have the mentor talk with parents guardian about the history. Clear expectations at the beginning on what the outings will be like. Yeah, absolutely. Setting that up. Absolutely. Hey, in 30 minutes, I loved hanging out with you, but in 30 minutes, I have to get going. That's a way to prime. Prep a little. Yes, absolutely. So it's not a complete surprise. Oh my gosh, the joy of my current life at this moment is leaving me. Great. Okay. Love those suggestions. Absolutely. Okay. Boundary settings. On outings, mentors finding themselves buying things for their mentee more frequently than they'd like. How can we match support this, or how can we troubleshoot this? I realize how can we support this is a little not what exactly what we want to do. On outings, mentors finding themselves buying things for the mentee more frequently than they'd like. How can we troubleshoot this? Provide free outing options, right? Reminder policies surrounding this. Yeah. This may be better for a third party to communicate with the mentee about expectations. Yes, it can be. Yeah. Especially when you have a rapport with the mentee, like, hey, I heard that y'all have been hanging out, which I love that. But here's some programmatics. These are the rules that the mentor has to follow along. You can be the quote unquote bad guy or bad person and set that structure and boundaries for them. Yeah. Talking to parent guardian, talking about doing one no cost activity and one that they could spend. Yeah. And the context might be whatever situation, like, hey, mentee is noticing a pattern that they can get food all the time. Creating a budget is a great plan. That's a great suggestion. If you can create a budget as early as possible. Absolutely. Love that idea. Okay. Last one for this one. Roles and resources. So parents, guardian ask mentors to help with homework before hangouts can happen with mentee. What do you do as match support? Parent and guardian ask mentor to help with homework before hangouts can happen with mentee. What do you do? Mm-hmm. Encourage them to build a relationship first and then help. Yeah, not a bad option. Be sure big is good with the plan. Right. Is it consensual? Like or is this just like force expectations? Absolutely. Clarify the role of mentor, right? Especially to parent guardian. Hey, they are not a tutor. If you need tutors, we can have resources for that, or we can look for resources for that. That's your opportunity to adjust and pivot program expectations. And of course, keep reiterating this, having rapport helps readjusting expectations, realigning them, giving feedback. So always have rapport as much as possible. Okay, let's go ahead and move to the next section. So what if this is a more serious situation? Now we'll have interventions. This is a step-by-step process, and of course, it's not something formal. It's just my idea process of ABCD. That's how I easily remember it. The first step is just assess, break it down is the second step, and then consult and categorize, and then deliver whatever solution it was. So going through it, first thing for the first step, is this an immediate crisis? Is someone in danger? Is someone hurt? If so, call 911 or your trusted authorities as soon as possible. And if it's not that kind of level, if possible, get the basic details, what, when, where, how. For example, can look like, oh my gosh, Menti had the biggest outburst in a movie theater. Oh, when did it, what, when did this happen? Oh, this happened last Saturday. We were at the movie theaters. That's the where. And it just happened in the middle of this scene at the movie theaters. Okay, that's good to know. Great. And depending on the level of intervention that is needed, you might have to assess with the team. Oh, school is involved because this is a site-based program. Oh, this is at a whole different like summer program. Okay, we need to assess the situation with them. Okay. And when there's higher level situations and circumstances like that, they're complex situations, step two, and they tend to have layers on layers. Break it down, address one thing at a time. When you have all the details, okay, these are all the parties involved. It's school, it's the summer pro, great. And maybe it's other parties like split parents. Split parents, is that the term for it? If there's divorced parents, that's a whole another situation as well. They might have to include dad, who isn't so much in the picture. Okay. Just know all the parties and address one thing at a time. And from there, consult with your manager. And of course, if you're a manager, there's always supervision, work with your team, and then categorize by identifying potential conflicts or tensions. Okay, mom and dad are divorced. That might be tension right there. But brainstorm together some options with your team, weigh out the pros and cons of each option, and think about the impact on each individual party as best as possible, of course. And that might also include, ooh, so many different parties, schools, IEP team, etc. And then step four, which is deliver or monitor and adapt, implement the chosen solution. And then assess continuously and adapt as the situation goes. So you have the chosen solution. Documentation is highly encouraged. Document the situation and solution you used for future resolutions and similar crises. Oh, this is happening a lot at this site-based program because the youth are all engaged and this is kind of a repeat. You know how to address it later on. Great. And of course, if needed, if the situation changes or updates, adapting could either look like tweaking the chosen solution or just start over and assess, okay, it seems like dad is not interested. Great. That's one less thing to think about. Oh, the school team wants to be more involved because there's liabilities and legalities to be concerned of. Okay, we need to readjust our game plan. Let's start over real quick. Great. Okay. So now as we have the ABCD, just thinking about it a little bit as much as possible. I know it's going to be a lot to process, but we're going to try to practice at least some of these steps in the next scenarios, the uncommon scenarios. And I want to reiterate common and uncommon, not so much as it's going to happen a lot in matches, but when you have issues, it commonly is this or uncommonly this kind of scenario or situation. So the first one, mentor and parent guardian agreed on certain topics to not be discussed. Later on, 6 months into the match, mentee is wanting to talk about those certain topics, like religion and politics with the mentor. How should we address this? Or what's the first thing that you would do?
We
Just
were, sorry,
no,
we
please
were
go ahead.
talking about the redirecting the conversation to somewhere else and then having the mentor and the parent talk, um, you know, that it came up and then see if how the parent guardian feels about continuing that conversation later on in outings.
Yeah, just currently, all right, let's just redirect and then later on connect with the parents and guardians and just have a game plan with them. Just, hey, could you have this conversation with a mentee because it's coming up a lot? How should we approach from there? Yeah, that's a good game plan. Absolutely. And of course, if it changes, mentee might be adamant about talking about it with only mentor. You might have to adjust and update your game plan. Okay, how can we work with the mentor to properly talk about these topics in a way that's aligned with program expectations, but also aligned with parents and guardians? Maybe it's just, hey, you can talk about it, but maybe develop research styles to properly, because the internet's a scary place. Having proper internet research skills will go a long way of just learning religion, politics, etc. Yeah, absolutely. I like that. Perfect. So let's go with the next one. It's a little bit of an overlap with schools. So Menti has an IEP or individual education plan. I think that's what it is. It's been a little while. And Mentor also works at a different school district developing IEPs. This mentor chooses to attend the mentee's IEP meetings to help build and follow through on their mentee's IEP plan, including intervening and advocating for more support from the school. Mom does not mind and consents to the mentor's presence in these meetings. What should match support look like in this case? If anything, what should match support look like in this case? Christina thinks it's amazing, right? To have a very involved mentor. Yes, absolutely. It is amazing. Should we just leave it as it is? Christina would encourage it.
We were talking about having an ROI.
Yeah, release of information.
Release of information. Yeah, absolutely. Have the have the forms filled out for that and everything. Yeah. There's also one alternative could be re this might not be part of the mentor's role. It could be, but this might be overstepping boundaries of what a mentor might look like within your program. So double checking your policies on what that looks like. I think it's amazing. I love the presence of the mentor, but I would also caution on the side of, hey, is this really the role of a mentor, or is this just on the parents and families? Right? So you want to double check on policies and expectations for mentor and make sure there's no overlap and crossing of boundaries of that regard. Any other thoughts on this situation that we could potentially learn? You may consider other factors. How long have they been matched? How often are they meeting? Right. The age of the match. If it was just like a brand new match, 3 months in, I would also be a little cautious. I'd be like, oh, they seem really involved for 3 months versus 3 years. I would want to make sure the youth is okay with it, especially if it's a teen. Yes, youth voice and agency is important. Maybe he doesn't want the mentor, he, they, she, mentee does not want the mentor to be present for those kind of meetings because it's awkward, it's embarrassing in some regard. I just want you to be the fun person in my life. Is there an opportunity for supplemental trainings and school advocacy for students? Yeah, we can think about that as well. Right. Okay. Ooh, 10:45. Okay. 10:45 Pacific time. So let's noodle on to the last scenario. This is a specific scenario that I've had some experience in. Mentee is a teenager in high school now. They enjoy watching YouTube videos and Twitch streamers. On the side, their hobby is editing videos. And one day, as a mentee is looking for a job, they stumble into editing videos for a streamer. Great work, money. That's great for a teenager. The mentee discloses to the mentor of this new role and asks mentor to keep it a secret. But the nature of the role has mentor concerned because the streamer does other content. Discusses the situation with you, match support specialist or staff, and mentor seems to be leaning to talking to parents, guardian, revealing the secret. What would you do? How would you approach it? Thoughts? Any key actions? Brainstorm together.
I would say just encouraging the mentor to talk to the mentee, just like saying like, hey, like, so I found this, I'm excited for you to continue with this role, but like just because I've kind of dug into it, I don't think this is appropriate. It's not safe, and so I just want to talk it with you, since I want to support you, but I think this is a wrong decision to move forward with this job. And so yeah, since the mentees in high school, I feel like they have like a maturity where they will be receptive to the feedback that the mentor provides. And then, obviously like after that, that will be like the first action plan. And if the mentee decides to go for it, then I think it's definitely something that, obviously the mentor will let the match board know, and then that's something that we should discuss with the parent. But I always encourage people to, go straight to the source and say like, hey, like this is not okay, and like I'm kind of concerned about this. Just there's a lot of things out in the internet, and I don't want you to like, be involved into this, and this could get you in trouble later in the future.
Yeah, I think talking about internet safety with them,
Mhm,
I guess could be a good thing.
mhm, mhm. Internet safety and encouraging mentor to have that difficult conversation. That is both part, hey, I'm here to support you, but also I've noticed these signs or concerns. Please be careful, but I'm also still here to support you, right? I like that approach. Absolutely. Any other thoughts or other ways? And I think Christina mentions, I always encourage Big to act in what feels the best for them or role play with the mentor, what outcome could happen. Yes, role play is great. I know it can be really scary to do role play, but having practical or exercising in practice really helps like that. Situations like that, especially. Any other thoughts or approaches that y'all would do? Okay. So a follow-up to that, say you suggest that game plan and the situation turns a little different when you next check in with mentor. Oh, mentor mentions that, hey, I'm so sorry, but I actually just talked to parent guardian about it, disclosing the secret. How would we support the match from that point on? It's a little bit of a twist. Say that in the next check-in with mentor. They had that conversation, but then ultimately still went with their guts of talking to parents, guardian, disclosing and revealing that secret. And the results are sour, of course. But how would match reports or how would you approach from that point on? So, let's say that happens inevitably. Ooh, that's a hard word to say. I almost started on it. Um, Consequently, I like that one better. There might be a burnt of trust between the mentor and mentee, because mentor disclosed that secret and mentee feels betrayed. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that to me. I trusted you in that regard. And parent, the safety and doing what they feel is the best for the youth at that time, right? So I would probably pivot towards, I would weigh out all the options. One option could be, let's rebuild the trust between mentor and mentee. Other ideas would be, hey, let's reel everything back. Parent, guardian, mentor, mentee, we're in this new situation. Let's work together on what it means to build trust or have a difficult conversation between everyone. This was the circumstances and situation, just clear everything up and make sure everyone has a voice, especially the youth in that situation, right? So I try to bring up this scenario because sometimes mentor, parents, guardian will also have similar mindset of the mentoring mindset of doing what's best for youth in their perspective. But we are also a third party, and that might not be the best thing for the youth, but they might still feel like they're doing the best thing for youth, or they're doing what's good for them, the mentee, right? So there will be conversations and adjustments, and that's why rapport is really important. But there will be times where you need to realign with mentors and parents and guardians. Hey, this is actually what the best thing is for the youth, which might be, let's talk to the youth. We have we're supporting you, but also this is the dangerous side of stuff. Here's the internet safety. This, and just including youth and including their voice and agency with it all, that might be best for the youth versus sometimes other parties will have certain actions that are backed up. I think this is the best for youth because it's the safest for everyone, but it also might burn bridges and trust. So keep in mind, some people's mindset might be different from ours. So it's a matter of aligning your mindset. This is what's best is for youth. And that's a whole other conversation to have with parent guardians and mentors. So hopefully this never happens to you. That was a hard scenario for me to navigate. So aside from check-ins, aside from troubleshooting, all of that, what other types of support could we potentially host or just have? And mentor support groups is a start. And what that could look like is online discussion forums like social media spaces. It could be Facebook groups, Slack, etc. I think Facebook groups is probably the most popular and the easiest or the lowest bar of entry and easily accessible for folks because Facebook, it has been around for a while, but creating a mentor support group, especially in an online forum, can be a great place for mentors to chat about questions. Maybe it's questions about boundaries, or even connect matches with other matches to hang out. That's always fun, and just variety helps a lot with match activities as well. And of course, as you go along with online forums, you maybe start realizing, hey, Facebook groups might not be an appropriate place for talking about specific topics or scenarios. Maybe it's very specific mental health issues, or it could be, hey, my mentee has suicidal ideation. Facebook group is probably not the best place for that, for those kind of topics, right? So you might have social activities or in-person meetings that are a little bit more appropriate for those kind of topics and scenarios to have, right? And those activities or meetups can be themed around supporting mental health challenges or supporting academics, et cetera, different themes, right? And of course, we always highly encourage special recognition events. That can look like a big annual event celebrating your mentors. Maybe it's a smaller group, you can get everyone together, but if you're a big program, that might be a little bit more difficult. So depending on your program, just having an annual event or celebration can look like big celebrations, like a big party, or it could be smaller stuff like thank you cards, small acts of kindness. Here's like $5 for Starbucks or whatever, a gift card, get yourself a drink. just little things like that. But having additional types of support, the data also shows that there's some benefit to this to sustainably reducing coordinator burnout as it shares the burden for match supports. Having additional types of support, I'm going to repeat it, has shown that there's an added benefit of sustainably reducing coordinator burnouts as it shares the burden for match supports. So that's highly recommended, if possible, within capacity, of course. And of course, there have been cases with a lot of these online forums being led by mentors, a lot of these in-person meetups. A mentor might be a therapist and they might be an expert in supporting youth with anxiety. Okay, maybe we'll have that theme for the next in-person meeting. That's what it can look like. All right, it's 10:55. That was a quick little review, but I don't think we have time for that. But I highly advocate match support is the one major key to a successful mentoring relationship. There's so many different factors, but I truly believe match support is one of the major ones. Okay, before we get into questions and comments and thoughts and everything, how are we now feeling on a scale of 1 to 10? Are we feeling the same? 7, 8, 6 4s? Are we still feeling, how are we feeling? Feeling like an 8. Thanks, Renee. Appreciate that. Feeling like an 8. Yes. Feeling the same. Good. That's great. I hope the content has been helpful. Sames, 7 7s, 8 8s. Good. Great. The same. Great. So one of the things that I've learned, especially about a numeric value, it helps gauge. So for example, if you were feeling like a 6, and then you check in later on and they're still feeling like a 6, I remember feeling disappointed, especially my match report call. So like, oh my gosh, our call didn't help them improve, but it helped them remain the same, and that's okay. It didn't get worse than a 6. And that gave me some relief, like, oh, our calls and check-ins is helping them out, even though it's not truly apparent or a big improvement to like a 7, 8, 9, or 10, right? So thank you. Love that. I love all of this.